Thunderbolts isn't your typical Marvel movie, and that's why it works. So let's talk about it. But as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Aaron and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies. So if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. It would be greatly appreciated. And while you're at it, if you like my videos, hit that like button as well. And if you've already seen the movie, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments. I would love to know what you think of this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about the MCU's newest entry, Thunderbolts. Now let me start this by saying I am so glad that I can say that I was surprised by this movie, because everything before this movie came out, when they first announced this film and then we saw what characters were going to be in it, I was kind of like, yeah, we'll see how that turns out, but it turned out to be really good. Now people are saying that it's a top 10 MCU movie. It might take me a couple of rewatches to really put it into that category. I don't think it's there quite yet, but hey, after I rewatch this movie like 2 or 3 times, maybe I can put it there, but it is no question one of the better Marvel movies. So in Thunderbolts, after being pinned against each other, we follow Yelena, John Walker, Ghost, Red Guardian, and Bucky as they are forced to team up and take on an even bigger threat while also confronting their past. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is this cast and really the characters in general. Now, the big thing that makes this movie so good and feel different from other MCU movies are the characters. They put a big focus on those characters and what they are dealing with and what they are going through in this movie, which is why I think this is one of the most emotional MCU movies we've ever gotten. And the performances we got from the cast only elevated that. Starting with Florence Pugh, she was hands down the best part of this movie. Yelena is definitely the main character in this thing, and she was able to ground and humanize her in this fantastical world filled with superheroes and just a bunch of crazy stuff going on. We got to know her on a whole new level in this movie, and that just made the emotional beats work so much better. And this, in my opinion, is the best version of Yelena that we've gotten so far. And as of right now, she might be my favorite character in the entire MCU, not only because of the way they wrote her character in this, but also because of the way Florence Pugh portrays her. Another standout was surprisingly Pullman as Bob, or Sentry, or the Void, I guess, as well. But he was pretty funny at certain moments in this movie, and just like Yelena, he was a very layered character. His character very much played into the themes of this movie, which I will get into in just a sec, but I just love how they explained his character and also how they characterized the Void and made it this metaphor for mental health and depression. But again, I will get into that in just a sec. But his relationship with Yelena was a big part of the film, and it really helped them stick the landing of this film, but also get their message across as well. Then we have David Harbour, who as expected was hilarious as Red Guardian, and you could just tell he was having so much fun playing this role and really enjoys being in the MCU. But his relationship with Yelena was really the heart of this film. There were a bunch of heartwarming and emotional moments between the two that worked really well. Sebastian was his usual self as Bucky, but the really cool part about Bucky in this movie is that we finally got to see a fully healthy Bucky who has dealt with his past, do his thing, and kick some butt, and that was my favorite thing about his character in this film. Both Wyatt Russel as US Agent and Hannah John Kamen as Ghost rounded out the team, and really this entire cast had great chemistry, and it was that chemistry that played a big role in keeping this movie entertaining. So at the end of the day, this movie isn't gonna wow you with a bunch of CGI action scenes like a lot of Marvel movies do. It's going to wow you with its well thought out characters and their relationship with each other. Next up for the good, and this is probably the most surprising part about this movie, but the way this thing handled its themes was amazing. And I know I just said that the characters help set this movie apart from other Marvel movies and make it feel different, but this right here is probably the biggest reason on why this doesn't feel like your typical Marvel movie. They dive into themes of mental health, depression, loneliness, found family, and they do it in a way that feels so organic and real, and that really helps humanize and ground this story and its characters, who are essentially a bunch of super soldiers with these amazing abilities. And the way they explored these themes not only made you care about each of these characters, but it also made each of them so relatable and allowed you to empathize with them as well. That just made the overall message of this film hit home so much harder, and that message is that you are never alone, even if it feels like it sometimes. And I think that's something we can all relate to in some way, shape, or form, whether you've struggled with mental health or you haven't. There was just lots of emotional depth in this film that allowed you to really get invested and care about all of the characters involved. I mean, outside of Bucky and Yelena, before watching this movie, I couldn't have cared less about all of the characters involved in this thing, and now I can't wait to see more of them. This movie just nailed its themes and it added so much to the story, and I just can't believe they put all of that into a Marvel movie. I think this movie is proof that superhero fatigue is a myth. If you give an audience a good humanized story with good characters, it doesn't matter if that movie is a sequel, a franchise, a big IP, a remake, or an original movie. There is a solid chance that that thing is going to turn out to be a good movie, and that's exactly what happened with this film. And the last thing I have for the good, and I'm going to combine two things right here, but that is the action and the humor. Now, these two things you kind of expect a Marvel movie to have, and you expect them to be good, and they do go a little bit overboard with the humor in some Marvel movies. Thor, Love and Thunder, I'm looking at you. But overall, that action and the humor that you love in Marvel movies was once again solid in this one. This movie was pretty funny. David Harbour was obviously the standout when it came to that aspect of the film, but also the banter back and forth between all of our characters made for some pretty funny moments as well. We also got some cool action sequences throughout the movie, but the only one I'm going to mention is the motorcycle scene with Bucky that they've been showing in the trailers. That was probably one of my favorite sequences in this entire movie, and again, it was just cool to see a healthy Bucky in action doing his thing in this movie. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is with all of the characters in this film, we obviously didn't get to explore some like we did others. Yelena, Bob, John Walker, and I'll even say Red Guardian are the characters that we get to learn the most about, but for characters like Bucky and Ghost, there just wasn't much there. Now, Bucky I'm cool with because, let's be honest, we've been getting to know and exploring his character since the first Captain America movie, which, believe it or not, came out almost 15 years ago, so I get why they really didn't go into his character and his backstory because we pretty much know it already. But for Ghost, we really didn't get to learn anything new about her character, which sucks because I do think she's a really cool character and she was awesome in all of the action scenes. I love the way they displayed her powers in this. But she was the only character that we really didn't dive into on a deeper level, which kind of made it feel like she was just along for the ride at times. So I just wish we got to learn what she's been up to since we last saw her in Ant-Man and the Wasp, because that's something we learned about every other character in this movie. And finally, getting into the bad, and the first thing I have here is that I do think this movie has a little bit of a pacing problem. There was a couple of scenes that I think lingered a little bit longer than they should have, and there was also a couple of times where they kind of stopped the movie for some fun banter and jokes between the characters. I also felt like the first hour of this was kind of slow, but once the team officially got together and started going after Val, I think the pacing from there on out was pretty solid, but there were a couple of times in that first hour of the movie where I was kind of feeling that runtime a little bit. But overall, this is a film that I would still put in that top half of MCU movies. It's got great characters and themes that help ground the story and make this thing relatable. The emotional moments work, and it's also able to keep that humor and action that Marvel movies are known to have, so this one is a must-watch for me. Those are my thoughts on Thunderbolts. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.